Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ivy Investors YouTube channel. My name is Courtney Richardson. I'm the founder of the Ivy Investor, and today I'm going to talk about Roth IRAs because a lot of people, it's kind of tax time, almost tax time. Beginning of January, we start looking at our finances seriously. We look at what happened in 2019, and I want you to be making plans, goals, and aspirations for your income in 2020. But one of the biggest things that I want you to look at is considering your legacy through retirement. When I talk about legacy, I really like to tell people legacy isn't just for someone beyond yourself, it's also for yourself. So it's actually leaving something for another intended purpose, which in this case of Roth IRAs is for your retirement. But there's three things that I really want to talk about and cover today. So the first thing is that how a Roth IRA works. Also that the Roth IRA is not the only what we consider Roth account that's out there. And we'll talk about why Roth IRA may not work for some people and what the solution is. And then finally, you actually have time to make a double contribution before April 15th, 2020. So I want to kind of walk you through it. And I want us to have a conversation because I think a lot of people don't understand how a Roth works. And it really does make a difference on how it works generally. So let's kind of just hop into it. And I will walk you through a couple of slides and we're off. So how does a Roth work? So you as a person with a Roth account, you're going to contribute after-tax money. And you're probably going, okay, after-tax money. So basically it's money that's already been taxed. So when you have a traditional IRA or traditional 401k, you're contributing usually before taxes. So if you make $100,000 and you contribute $10,000 to your traditional IRA or traditional 401k, you're being taxed as if you made $90,000 because that money is pre-taxed. Now with a Roth, if you contribute some money to a Roth, so let's say $5,000 and you make $100,000 and you contribute $5,000 to your Roth, you're still going to be taxed as if you made $10,000 because it's after tax money. But here's the thing about a Roth. The Roth grows without being taxed and it's withdrawn tax-free if you're over the age of 59 and a half and the account's been open for 5 years or more. So you're probably thinking like, okay, not a big deal. But let me just give you guys a background on how the Roth started. So the Roth actually isn't that old. It is about 22 years old. It was introduced in 1997 by Bill Roth, who was a senator at the time of Delaware. He was a really big tax policy, tax guru, and he wanted to create an account that helped kind of people save for retirement in a tax-friendly way. Because like I said, he was a tax policy guy. So that came in 1997. But here's the other thing, and I want to talk about this in a second. You know what? I'm going to hold off on that because I want to kind of show you how tax policy evolves. So, in 1997, it was established for someone who made under $100,000. That number has kind of creeped up over time, and we'll talk about what those numbers are now because of inflation. So over the last 22 years, I think it's gone up we'll say maybe $30,000. But we'll actually talk about the exact numbers in a second. So here's the thing. So with a Roth IRA, you can contribute in 2019. And this is really important because you're probably going, Courtney, 2019 is already over. Why are we still talking about this? Hold on. I'll get to that. But just keep this in mind. 2019, if you're under the age of 50, you can contribute up to $6,000. And if you're over the age of 50, you can contribute up to $7,000. And you're like, well, what's the difference? If you're over the age of 50 in that tax year, you are entitled to what's called a catch-up provision. Because basically you're closer to retirement, so you're going to need as much money you can possibly go to retirement to go there. So 2020, unfortunately, the numbers have not increased. Every so often, they will increase from year to year. But in this particular instance, in 2020, the Roth contribution limits have not increased. So it's still $6,000 under 50 and it's $7,000 over 50. So here's the thing about Roth IRAs, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with how the income limits have crept up over time. So in 2019, if you're single, you can contribute to a Roth IRA that full $6,000 if you make under $122,000. Okay. If you make between $122,000 if you're single and $137,000, your contributions are going to be limited. And this is your annual adjusted gross income. So there are going to be some deductions that are going to come out of this. If you have questions about your annual adjusted gross income, talk to your accountant. And if you make over 137,000, if you're single in 2019, you are ineligible to contribute to a Roth. And I'm going to talk about some options that you may have if you're ineligible for a Roth IRA. If you're married, if you make under $193,000, then then you're able to contribute to a Roth the full $6,000. Between $193,000 and $206,000, your contribution is going to be reduced. And then if you make over, $203,000. So let me clarify. I made a mistake on this particular slide. So if you make between 193, if you're married and you make under 193,000 and 203,000, then the amount is reduced. And if you make over 203,000, then you are not able to contribute to a Roth IRA. And in 2020, so it's increased, the amounts have increased to 200,000. So if you're single, you can contribute up to 120. If you make under 124,000, you get the full 6,000. Between 124,000 and 139, you're contributing a reduced amount, and over 139,000, you cannot contribute to a Roth at all. Now, if you're married, it goes up to additional $3,000. So if you make under 196,000, if you're married, the full $6,000. If between 196,000 and 206,000, you get a reduced amount. And then finally, if you make over $206,000, unfortunately, you can't use a Roth. But here's the thing. So like I said, in 1997, Bill Roth came up with the Roth IRA. And he said, if you make under $100,000, you can contribute money after tax, and it grows tax without being taxed. And it comes out tax-free if you basically follow the rules. Now, in 2001, people, about 5 years later, people were mad. They're like, yo, and let's look at these numbers. If you make under 22,000, for 2019, or 124,000, you're just getting to the point where you may be able to contribute $6,000 after taxes to a retirement account that you can't touch. So people are like, yo, what's up? What about us? So what happened is in 2001, under the first Bush Tax Act, what they ended up doing is they said, okay, 5 years from now, you'll be able to contribute to what's called a Roth 401k. And with a Roth 401k, you're able to, you're able to actually contribute a lot more. So it works out relatively well if you have that option at your job. So that being said, so let's look at that. So I want to kind of walk through what a Roth contribution, will look like. So basically in 2015, the most that you could contribute to a Roth IRA was if you were over the age of 50, because this is a person who's over the age of 50. This is a person who's over the age of 50. So they say in 2015, they bought 58 shares of Apple. So they bought 58 shares of Apple. So it basically has grown to, in 2020, like as of today, it's grown to $17,000. So basically they have a capital gain or a gain of $10,000. So if they had a taxable account, they're going to have to pay capital gains tax about 15%, because we're basically assuming that this person is taxed at 22%. So they're going to have to pay capital gains on the $10,000 gain that they received, plus the dividends that they received every year. So over the last 5 years, they've received on their 58 shares about $729 in dividends. So their total tax would be on this amount $1,700. So with a traditional IRA, because they put that money away before taxes, they would have to pay taxes upon withdrawal. Now the full amount would be about $3,800 more or less. And that's if they took it all out at once. Most people don't take a full lump sum out of their accounts, but that's if they paid it all at once. But with a Roth, same amount, but they would pay $0 in taxes. So that's what makes the Roth so sexy. And this is just Apple. You can put real estate in your Roth IRAs. You have so many different options that you can do, but it just depends on how the government is going to look at it tax-wise. So like I said earlier, is that in 2001, they changed the game for Roth kind of source accounts. And people are like, yo, what about us? We really make we make more money than the limits. And this is when we're actually able to do something. So what about us? So they did the Roth 401k. So just so you know, with 401ks, there's no income limit. There's a limit to what you can contribute, but there's no income limit. So the max contribution for 2020, contribution for 2020 is 19,500 if you're under 50. And again, you have this catch-up contribution. So now you can contribute $26,000 if you're over the age of 50. That's a lot of money that you can now contribute, which is way more than your IRA contributions. And also it has additional protections like bankruptcy protections, and that's a federal thing. So a lot of people are like, okay, I'm upset I can't contribute to this Roth IRA, but I have a Roth 401k available. So now that's something I can do. But if you don't have a Roth 401k or a Roth 401k source, what we call a Roth source in your 401k or your 403b, 457 or TSP, what you can do is do a backdoor IRA. So basically you can do a non-deductible traditional IRA and you would basically convert it to a Roth. Easy peasy. So, but the third thing I want to talk about, so we talked about how Roth basically works, what it looks like. We talked about, that there's not only one type of Roth account. You have a Roth IRA, you have a Roth 401k, but then you also have double IRA season, and we're here now. And so up to tax day of 2020, you can make contributions up to $12,000 for your Roth IRA, because you're covering your 2019 contributions and your 2020 contributions. So you're like, okay, Courtney, well, how do I make sure that I'm able to contribute $12,000? Well, first, your income has to qualify. So you have to be under the income limits that I talked about earlier. And I'll probably just drop you like an ebook or something in the show notes so you can kind of walk through it yourself. Also, if you have not made your full contribution for 2019, so if you made like maybe $1,000 or maybe $2,000, you're going to have to reduce your 2019 contribution by that amount. And then also, like I said, you have until April 15, 2020 to make your contribution for 2019. That's any IRA contribution. But be mindful that it's probably just easier to do it before you file your taxes. Okay? So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. So like I said, just to recap, basically how a Roth IRA works, because a lot of people just don't seem to know. And it's not anyone's fault, because who really talks about it in school? And also we talk about how there's not only just one Roth IRA, I should say Roth IRA type account, or Roth account, I should say. Roth account. You have the Roth IRA, you have the Roth 401k, and the Roth 401k is probably a better option if you make more money and it's available to you. But if not, you can do a backdoor IRA, talk to your accountant about it. And then finally, you have double IRA season or double contribution season. So basically, you have to qualify income-wise, which is your annual adjusted gross income. If you have questions about that, always ask your accountant. Also, if you haven't made your full contribution for 2019 yet, and then also you have until basically tax day of 2020 to make your contribution for 2019. So basically, you can contribute your 2019 contribution and your 2020 contribution. So thanks so much for watching, and check out the show notes below.